You're looking at shop windows, those dazzling, flawless, perfectly smooth displays. Inside them, there are only winners, only those who've made it, only the ones who've arrived. Every biography you pick up, every TED Talk you watch, every perfect life snapshot that slips past your fingertip on social media tells you the same thing. This is the formula. I did it. You can too. I woke up at 5 a.m., took cold showers, took risks, and now I'm here. So you try. You copy their routines. You dress like they do, read the books they read, but it doesn't work. That long-awaited victory never knocks on your door. And then, in the very center of your chest, you feel that familiar weight, inadequacy. Everyone else is succeeding, you tell yourself. So the problem must be me. I must be lacking. I must be broken. No, you are not broken. The data set you're looking at is. You're walking past the cemetery, focusing only on the flowers on the gravestones, while ignoring the thousands of silent bodies beneath the soil. Your perception is so consumed by the noise of the survivors that you can't hear the silence of the dead. And yet the truth is hidden precisely in that silence. This is the cruelest trick your mind plays on you. Survivorship bias. You try to analyze success by looking only at those who succeeded. That's like examining wounded soldiers in a hospital and saying, areas without bullet wounds must not be vital. This was exactly the mistake engineers made during World War II when they examined the planes returning from combat. The planes that came back were riddled with holes in their fuselages, but their engines and cockpits were intact. The engineers said, "We should reinforce the fuselage because that's where they're being hit the most." Then a mathematician stepped out of that silence and whispered the truth. No, you must reinforce the engines and the cockpits because the planes hit there never made it back. They're at the bottom of the sea. You're only studying the survivors. You do the same thing in your own life. When you listen to a successful entrepreneur say, "I dropped out of school and built a billion-dollar company in my garage," you don't account for the thousands of young people who dropped out, failed in their garages, drowned in debt, and disappeared without a sound. They don't have microphones. Their biographies aren't written. They aren't invited to conferences. They're invisible. And because they're invisible, they don't exist in your perception of reality. That's why you think taking risks is always rewarded. Because those who took risks and lost aren't around to tell the story. This mechanism operates deep within your mind, like an evolutionary short circuit. Your brain wants to model success. Imitating the survivor was probably the safest strategy in prehistoric times. Follow the man who ate the fruit and didn't die. Watch the woman who entered the cave and came back alive. But in the chaotic complexity of the modern world, this instinct traps you in a constant cycle of disappointment. And this bias doesn't just poison your career or financial goals. It infects your most intimate emotions as well. Relationships. You look around and see that elderly couple who's been married for 50 years. That's it, you say. The formula for true love is patience and endurance. But you don't see the thousands of relationships where the same patience and endurance led to abuse, broken spirits, forced separations, or lives spent in quiet misery. That elderly couple isn't proof of a successful relationship. They're just a rare exception that survived the storm. But you mistake the exception for the rule, and coincidence for destiny. You erase the role of luck from your life. This is your biggest mistake. In the stories of successful people, the word luck appears like a shy footnote. I worked hard. I never gave up. Of course they worked hard. Of course they didn't give up. But those lying in the graveyard worked hard too. They didn't give up either. The dice just didn't roll in their favor. If someone who won the lottery told you which numbers to play, you'd probably laugh it off. But when someone who got rich in the stock market says, "I followed my intuition," you take it as a lesson in wisdom. The difference isn't as big as you think. This blindness pushes you toward arrogance and a lack of compassion. You attribute other people's failures to laziness, lack of talent, or weak will. Because your brain wants to believe outcomes depend only on actions. He failed because he didn't want it badly enough, you say. This is a comforting lie your ego invents to feel safe. If failure is caused only by personal flaws, then success must be guaranteed once you're complete. But chaos has no sense of justice. You can't predict who the wind will favor or whom the waves will swallow. Now stop and look at yourself in the mirror again. That feeling of inadequacy isn't proof of your incompetence. Your data set is incomplete. You're only listening to half the story. You listen to Steve Jobs, but you don't listen to the thousands of projects rotting in Silicon Valley's graveyard. Those with voices speak. Those who vanished remain silent, and you mistake that noise for reality. This realization may hurt. The fact that you're not in control is unsettling. Throwing away the formula for success feels like tearing up the map in your hands, but it's also liberating. It lets you put down that heavy burden on your back. Where did I go wrong? Maybe you didn't do anything wrong at all. Maybe you just haven't passed through that survivor filter yet. Maybe your process simply isn't finished. You must be compassionate with yourself. Stop comparing yourself to the polished, retouched after photos of the survivors. Those images aren't the full truth. They're nothing more than a silk cloth draped over the bodies on a battlefield. If you're looking for the truth, don't look under the stage lights. Look into the darkness behind the curtain. Listen not to the cheers of victory, but to the deep, dignified silence of defeat. Because the truth of life and of humanity isn't found in the stories that are told, but in the ones that can't be told. The unfinished stories buried at the bottom of the sea. There is no guaranteed formula for success, but there is a path to peace. To see the world as a whole. Not only what's placed in the display window, but also what's kept in the storage room. To accept the immense power of luck, chaos, and uncertainty. And to measure your worth not by the brightness of the outcome, but by the honor of the struggle. Now respect that silence, because it is your true teacher.